¿Qué tal, fanáticos del baloncesto? Su analista de cancha, Tips and Streams, está de regreso en el juego. En la agenda de hoy, análisis de los últimos enfrentamientos de la NBA listos para brillar en la cancha. Antes de comenzar, asegúrate de presionar el botón de suscribir en nuestro canal de YouTube para estar al tanto de todas nuestras predicciones y selecciones destacadas. Bien, empecemos con las predicciones de la NBA para hoy. The first prediction for today is for the game between Toronto Raptors and Detroit Pistons. In the electrifying world of the NBA, the stage is set for an epic Eastern Conference clash as the Toronto Raptors embark on a journey to battle it out with the Detroit Pistons at the iconic Little Caesars Arena. With the Raptors scoreboard reading a disheartening 23-42 and the Pistons trailing with an 11-53 tally, playoff dreams might be off the table, but the fight for honor and gearing up for the next season is in full swing. Peeling back the layers of this showdown reveals two squads amid transformation, yet each clash is a treasure trove of clues about their future trajectory. The Raptors' recent stretch has been a tough pill for their loyal supporters to swallow, with a losing streak that's hit 4, signaling a shift toward a rebuild. Their strategic move to trade away key contributors has visibly taken a toll, as seen in their 30-34-1 record against the spread, with a penchant for high-octane matchups, evidenced by 35 out of their 65 battles soaring past the total points line. Amidst the turbulence, R.J. Barrett shines bright, dropping 20.8 points per match, though the shadow of injuries to pivotal players like Emmanuel Quickley and Gary Trentcher casts a cloud of uncertainty over their roster. On the other side, the Detroit Pistons, despite a season riddled with defeats, have sparked moments of defiance, clinching victories in 2 of their recent 3 contests. Their 32-31-1 record against the spread, coupled with a slight inclination for games to exceed total points, predictions at 33-31, showcases a grit that defies their standings. Cade Cunningham steers the ship with an impressive 22.6 points and 7.5 assists per game, while Jalen Duren's supremacy in the paint lays the groundwork for Detroit's resurgence. When these two titans collide, the Pistons hold the edge, especially with their track record of outperforming the spread in Detroit's home court battles against the Raptors. This historic dominance, mixed with Toronto's roster concerns, makes betting on Detroit to cover the spread a tantalizing prospect. Defensively, both teams have been on shaky ground, with the Raptors conceding an average of 124.9 points across their last 7 showdowns, and the Pistons not far behind in defensive woes. With both teams' defenses languishing at the bottom of the league and a tendency towards attack-minded play in recent outings, betting on the over is a wise choice. Considering the Raptors' form, injury woes, and past performances in Detroit, the scales tip in favor of the Pistons, especially with Toronto's defense less intimidating away from home. Detroit's recent positive trends and solid home record against the spread indicate they're poised to cover. Furthermore, the potential for a high-scoring affair, given both teams' defensive struggles and penchant for lighting up the scoreboard recently, makes the over an appealing bet. In essence, the Detroit Pistons are set to exploit a beleaguered Toronto squad, looking to cover the spread in a game that's expected to be a scoring bonanza. With the Raptors hampered by key injuries and Detroit finding a groove, the Pistons' home court advantage and historical success against the spread in this matchup tilt the odds in their favor. Anticipate a point-filled spectacle that leans towards the over, with Detroit leveraging Toronto's defensive gaps to clinch the win. My money's on the Detroit Pistons to cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Brooklyn Nets and Orlando Magic. As the Brooklyn Nets lace up for a showdown with the Orlando Magic at the Amway Center, we're in for a gripping tale of grit and redemption. Riding high from a commanding win over the Cleveland Cavaliers with a scoreboard of 120-101, the Nets flaunted their scoring skills, thanks to Cam Thomas lighting up the court with 29 points and Mikal Bridges chipping in with a solid 25. Yet, with Cam Johnson on the sidelines and Ben Simmons out for the long haul, they're hitting some turbulence on both ends of the floor. Their track record on foreign hardwood shows cracks, especially noted in their struggle to beat the odds in their last 20 away games. Meanwhile, the Orlando Magic, holding the fort as the favorites on their turf, aim to shake off a recent slip-up against the Indiana Pacers. Despite the hiccup, the Magic have stood out with their defensive prowess, snagging the second spot in snagging rebounds and ranking 8th in shutting down threes. Their stronghold at home is underscored by a commendable performance against the spread in recent matchups, making the Amway Center a tough nut to crack. However, their offensive game leans heavily on Paolo Banchero, a challenge against tight defenses. The face-offs between these two have mostly tilted in the Nets' favor, but the Magic's resounding 108-81 victory not too long ago hints at a turning tide, especially when playing at home and considering their current momentum. The clash seems set for a tight contest, with defensive play likely being the deciding factor. Delving into the team's recent performances and the edge of playing at home, the Magic's defensive edge, particularly in rebounding and limiting scoring chances, appears to be a key to victory. The Nets' struggles on the road, coupled with inconsistency, might be too steep a hill to climb in this face-off. Reflecting on past games in Orlando and the latest confrontation, alongside the Nets' road trip woes, the Magic stand ready to capitalize on their defensive stronghold and home advantage for a win. The prediction of a 5-point lead for the Magic captures their capability to dictate to the game's pace and outcome, especially against the Nets' road betting trends and Orlando's solid home game betting record. In summary, while the Nets have had their moments of glory, the Orlando Magic's defensive stability and home court prowess position them as the team likely to outperform the spread. This matchup is anticipated to be a strategically intense duel, probably keeping the score on the lower side, favoring a total of under 206 points. The forecast leans towards an Orlando Magic triumph, successfully covering the spread in a defensively dominated match that highlights their strength at the Amway Center. The smart money's on the Magic to clinch the win and beat the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Chicago Bulls and Indiana Pacers. In the brisk ambiance of a Wednesday night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the stage is impeccably set for a riveting Eastern Conference showdown. The Chicago Bulls, still smarting from a recent thrashing by the Dallas Mavericks, are gearing up to clash with the Indiana Pacers, who are riding high from a spirited win against the Orlando Magic. As the regular season draws to a close, the stakes couldn't be higher, transforming each game into a critical battle for playoff seeding. This isn't merely a game, it's a quest for post-season existence. The Bulls are teetering on the brink, firmly entrenched in the 9th position, with minimal hopes of climbing. Their recent debacle has cast doubts on their defensive mettle, particularly their ability to guard the interior. DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic's lackluster showing against the Mavericks, combined with Kobe White's struggles, has exacerbated the team's predicament. Nonetheless, their eagerness for a play-in tournament slot is unwavering, infusing their play with a sense of urgency. On the flip side, the Pacers find themselves comfortably perched in the number 7 seed, albeit not without hurdles. The loss of Benedict Mathurin, a pivotal scorer, to a season-ending injury deals a tough blow. Nevertheless, the team has displayed commendable resilience, with Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam rising to the occasion and the bench making significant contributions, as demonstrated in their victory over the Magic. This versatility and depth could prove to be crucial in their playoff journey. Analyzing the statistics reveals the highs and lows of both teams. The Bulls, despite their recent downturn, have had moments of excellence, needing to shore up their defense and achieve scoring consistency. The Pacers, meanwhile, present a more balanced offensive threat and have maintained relative stability. Their proficiency in shooting and rebounding slightly tips the scales in their favor in this encounter. Past clashes in Indianapolis have always been intense, with home advantage playing a key role. Despite the evenly matched history, the Pacers' current form, especially on their turf, nominates them as slight frontrunners. Injuries might significantly impact the outcome. With Mathurin sidelined for the Pacers and the Bulls reliant on their stars' peak performance, unpredictability is rife. The betting odds lean towards the Pacers with a 5-point lead, underscoring the closeness of the match. Yet, the Bulls' dire need and potential for an upset suggest they could surpass expectations. To sum up, although the Pacers are tipped for the win, the Bulls' determination, combined with their prowess, sets the stage for an intense encounter. Anticipate a defensively pivotal game where each possession is crucial. The Pacers, with their home advantage and balanced squad, may secure a narrow victory. However, the Bulls' resolve and the inherent unpredictability of the sport hint at the possibility of them beating the spread. My prediction leans towards the Chicago Bulls overcoming the 5-point spread in a tightly contested, low-scoring affair where the push for a playoff berth might spring some surprises. The next prediction for today is for the game between Denver Nuggets and Miami Heat. As the Denver Nuggets prepare to lock horns with the Miami Heat in an electrifying interconference clash, we're on the brink of witnessing an epic duel. With the Nuggets cruising on a stellar 45-20 record this season and having bagged victories in 9 of their last 10 games, including a notable win over the Heat just a month ago, they're set to continue their winning streak. The Heat, sitting at 35-29, are determined to rebound from their recent skid of 3 losses and keep their playoff dreams alive. The Nuggets have been a force to reckon with, highlighted by their strategic triumph over the Heat, despite a lower shooting efficiency of 42.9%. They've been lethal from the charity stripe, sinking 19 out of 21 free throws. Michael Porter Jr. and Nikola Jokic have been at the forefront, with Porter Jr. lighting up the scoreboard with 30 points and Jokic nailing a double-double. Denver's formidable offense is well complemented by their rock-solid defense, which concedes an average of 110.7 points per game, placing them 7th in the league defensively. The Heat, on the flip side, are navigating through turbulent waters with 3 consecutive defeats, including a stumble against the Nuggets. Despite shooting on par with Denver, Miami's prowess from beyond the arc has been dim, making only 7 out of 26 three-point attempts. The potential absence of Tyler Herro looms large over their scoring capabilities. Nonetheless, Miami's defense remains their cornerstone, allowing an average of 109.9 points per game and ranking them 5th in the league defensively. A pivotal element to this showdown is the Nuggets embarking on a 4-game road trip. Denver's resilience on foreign courts, marked by a 3-2 record in their recent away fixtures, showcases their ability to deliver in high-pressure scenarios. Despite recent hiccups, the Heat have proven to be formidable hosts, clinching victories against top-tier adversaries. History leans in favor of the Nuggets, who have outsmarted the Heat in recent encounters, underlining their strategic dominance. Both squads boast impressive defensive stats, but Denver's harmonious offense, spearheaded by Jokic and Murray, might just tip the scales in their favor. Injuries and recent form will play a crucial role in determining the outcome. Denver's clean health report and consistent scoring, contrasted with Miami's challenges without Herro, sway the odds towards the Nuggets. When we dissect the stats, the Nuggets emerge with a synergy of offensive fluidity and defensive rigor. Despite Miami's defensive accolades, Denver's edge in rebounding and shooting accuracy, particularly in crunch time, could be the game changer. We're gearing up for a defensive battle, with each team aiming to neutralize the other's main threats. Denver's adaptability and form hint at their readiness to surpass the spread and possibly clinch a victory away. Yet, considering the defensive caliber of both teams, it's plausible the total score will dip below the 217.5 mark, highlighting the game's defensive intensity. To wrap up, while the Nuggets are the bettor's choice for a win, and the Heat to narrow the 4-point spread, the smart money is on the total points remaining under 217.5, given the defensive prowess on display. Brace yourself for a defensive showdown, with Denver's well-rounded offense and steadfast defense likely to prevail over Miami in a nail-biter. My bet's on the total points staying under 217.5. The next prediction for today is for the game between Charlotte Hornets and Memphis Grizzlies. As we gear up for the showdown between the Charlotte Hornets and the Memphis Grizzlies at the FedEx Forum, a deep dive into the matchup uncovers some key insights. Both squads have hit a rough patch this season. The Hornets are currently 16-49, anchored at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, while the Grizzlies are not faring much better at 23-43 in the West. However, recent performances shed light on potential game dynamics. The Hornets have been struggling, dropping 7 out of their last 8, highlighting their offensive woes with an average of 107.1 points per game, one of the lowest in the league. Meanwhile, the Grizzlies have managed to secure 3 wins in their last 5 outings, indicating a semblance of stability despite their overall standing. Injuries have also thrown a wrench into the plans of both teams, with the Grizzlies feeling the absence of stars like Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., impacting both their offensive and defensive play. The Hornets, in better health, are banking on Miles Bridges to light up the scoreboard and Nick Richards to fortify their defense. Both teams are struggling to put points on the board, but the Grizzlies' inefficiency in scoring and shooting could be a deciding factor in this clash. Looking at their encounters in Memphis, the Grizzlies traditionally have the upper hand, especially given the Hornets' dismal road record. Yet, the current situation, including the Grizzlies' injury woes and the Hornets' recent spark of form, suggests an intriguing battle. The Hornets' prowess from the three-point line and the Grizzlies' home court struggles could level the playing field. Considering Memphis is coming off a back-to-back in their form of late, fatigue could significantly impact the game, especially with a thin roster. The Hornets, despite their less-than-stellar season record, have shown they can pounce on a weary Grizzlies team. In summary, while both teams have been underwhelming this season, the scales tip slightly in favor of the Charlotte Hornets due to their offensive edge, the Grizzlies' critical injuries, and potential fatigue factors. It's poised to be a tight game, but the Hornets have what it takes to exploit the Grizzlies' vulnerabilities. Charlotte is in a good position not just to cover the spread, but possibly secure a win, with the projected total points suggesting a game on the lower scoring end. My money's on the Charlotte Hornets to take it home and cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Cleveland Cavaliers and New Orleans Pelicans. In the eagerly anticipated clash at the Smoothie King Center, the Cleveland Cavaliers, boasting a solid 41-24 record, are gearing up to face off against the New Orleans Pelicans, who stand close behind with a 39-25 tally. Diving deep into the heart of this matchup, a few key elements emerge that shape our game night forecast. The Cavaliers, known for their tight-knit defense, face hurdles on the offense, managing an average score of 113.7 points per game, which ranks them 18th across the league. This contrasts with the Pelicans, who exhibit a stronger offensive game, scoring an average of 116.4 points per game, placing them 13th in the league standings. Defensively, both teams are almost neck and neck, with Cleveland conceding an impressive 109.7 points per game, the fourth lowest in the league, while New Orleans follows closely, allowing 111.1 points on average, securing the 8th spot. The Cavaliers have felt the absence of Donovan Mitchell, sidelined by a knee injury, a setback visible in their recent performance of winning just 3 out of 7 games without him. On the flip side, the Pelicans are surfing on a winning streak, having bagged 4 straight victories. Their roster depth plays a pivotal role, enabling the team to ease the load on their star players. This depth, combined with their defensive strength, gives them an edge over a Cavaliers squad that is not just missing key players, but also scrambling for consistent scoring beyond Darius Garland and Karis LeVert. Considering the head-to-head records and the home court advantage, historical trends favor the Pelicans, especially in their recent home games. Their ability to secure wins through various strategies, along with a top-notch defensive rating, highlights their resilience and adaptability. Given Cleveland's injury woes and the Pelicans' form, the scales seem to tip towards New Orleans. Their strategic defense, depth, and the Cavaliers' offensive challenges without Mitchell suggest the Pelicans are not just likely to win, but also cover the spread. Despite the Cavaliers' spirited efforts in Mitchell's absence, facing a well-balanced Pelicans team at home is a daunting task. The betting margin, set at 216 points, adds another layer to the game's dynamics. Considering both teams' defensive prowess and the Cavaliers' offensive struggles, a lower-scoring game might be anticipated. Yet, with the Pelicans' offensive strength and their fast-paced home game style, we might see the scoreline exceed expectations, suggesting a potential for hitting the over. In summary, with their roster depth, defensive solidity, and home advantage, the New Orleans Pelicans are primed to take down the Cleveland Cavaliers. These factors position the Pelicans as favorites to not just win, but also beat the spread. While the total points margin is more debatable, the matchup dynamics, factoring in the Cavaliers' form and the Pelicans' offensive capabilities, hint at a high-scoring encounter, making the over a compelling bet. My money's on the New Orleans Pelicans to emerge victorious and cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Golden State Warriors and Dallas Mavericks. Tonight's primetime showdown at the American Airlines Center pits the Dallas Mavericks against the Golden State Warriors in a clash where playoff stakes are sky high. The Mavericks, riding the wave of a 3-game hot streak and parked in the 8th spot, are tipped as 7.5-point leaders over the Warriors, who are barely holding on to their playoff dreams. This isn't just a battle for a spot in the standings. It's a showdown of strategy, skill, and sheer will to secure playoff clout. With the stellar Luka Doncic at the helm, the Mavericks aim to cement their playoff berth with a win on their home court, where their performance has been a roller coaster ride this season. Despite the ups and downs at home, their recent streak hints they've cracked the code, firing on all cylinders with a lethal mix of explosive offense and crafty defense. The Mavericks' prowess from downtown, fueled by the dynamic duo of Doncic and Irving, makes them a towering threat. Meanwhile, the Warriors find themselves at a critical juncture with their playoff fate hanging by a thread. The cloud of uncertainty over Steph Curry's play due to an ankle injury adds a twist to the tale. Golden State's signature beyond the arc play could falter without Curry, yet their arsenal is still packed to challenge any foe, thanks to their skill in opening the floor and forging scoring chances. Statistically speaking, both teams pack a punch offensively, with the Mavericks averaging 119.1 points per game and the Warriors close behind at 118.5. Defensively, there's room for improvement on both ends, with Dallas conceding 117.8 points per game and Golden State a tad tighter at 116.8. This defensive gap could tilt the scales, especially with the Mavericks' home court mojo and the Warriors' road woes this season. History shows these matchups are tightly contested, with the Mavericks clinching the last face-off by 10 points. Recent games in Dallas tilt slightly in the home team's favor, a trend that could continue given the Warriors' packed schedule and Curry's potential absence. Injury updates are crucial, with Dallas entering the fray in better health, poised to leverage their depth and flexibility against the Warriors' vulnerabilities, especially if Curry sits out. Considering the Mavericks' form, the Warriors' three-point dependence, and the home court edge, tonight's game is set to be a scoring bonanza. Curry's absence could disrupt Golden State's rhythm, giving Dallas, led by Doncic and Irving, the upper hand. Yet, the Warriors are no strangers to bouncing back and thriving under pressure. Their proven track record in crunch time and their depth might just be the wild cards. To wrap up, with the Mavericks' momentum, home advantage, the Warriors' injury woes, Dallas's slight defensive edge, and Golden State's scoring dilemma sans Curry, the prediction leans towards Dallas. Expect the Mavericks to lengthen their streak, exploiting their form and the Warriors' predicaments. However, my eye is on the total points topping 237, rather than picking a winner. The next prediction for today is for the game between Atlanta Hawks and Portland Trailblazers. In a riveting clash between East and West, the Atlanta Hawks gear up to take on the Portland Trailblazers at the Moda Center. The Hawks, with a record of 29-35, recently had their winning streak of 3 games snapped by the Pelicans as their shooting percentage dropped to a mere 41.8%. On the flip side, the Trailblazers are navigating through a tough season, holding an 18-46 record after being dominated by the Celtics in their latest game. This game presents a stark contrast in both momentum and standings, with Atlanta eyeing a playoff berth and Portland setting sights on next year's rebuild. A deep dive into the recent performances and overall season stats of both teams sheds light on their current state. Atlanta boasts a potent offense, averaging 119.6 points per game, highlighting their knack for sinking shots and drawing fouls for easy points. Their offensive game plan hinges on their three-point and free throw shooting. However, defensively, they've been lagging, conceding an average of 121.5 points per game, which places them towards the league's lower echelons in terms of defense. Conversely, the Trailblazers have struggled to establish a consistent offensive flow with a meager average of 108 points per game. Their shooting accuracy, both from the field and three-point range, hasn't been up to par, making it difficult to keep up with adversaries. On defense, while they've shown grit, they still let in 116.1 points per game, signaling a need for defensive tightening. A key factor in this showdown is each team's performance in Portland, where home court advantage often tips the scales. Atlanta faces the task of outshining in a hostile environment and maintaining their offensive momentum, whereas Portland could find a lifeline in their home court advantage to bolster both their offensive and defensive efforts. Given the stats and the recent form of both teams at the Moda Center, the nod goes to the Atlanta Hawks. Their offensive supremacy, combined with Portland's dual struggles, points to Atlanta dictating the game's tempo and flow. Additionally, the Hawks' proficiency in scoring from free throws and long range should mitigate Portland's defensive strategies. In essence, considering the offensive and defensive metrics, past encounters in Portland, the current form of both teams, and Atlanta's drive to secure a playoff spot, it's anticipated that Atlanta will not only triumph, but also surpass the 3.5-point spread set by bookmakers. With the total points margin set at 219.5 points, and considering the offensive leanings and defensive woes of both squads, a high-scoring game is expected, making a case for the total points to go over. My pick is for the Atlanta Hawks to clinch the win and beat the spread. The last prediction for today is for the game between Los Angeles Lakers and Sacramento Kings. Tonight's electrifying NBA clash is set to light up the Los Angeles skyline as the Lakers gear up to welcome the Sacramento Kings to the legendary Crypto.com arena. This face-off isn't just about regional supremacy in the Pacific Division. It's a high-stakes dance for a coveted spot in the playoff lineup, with the Lakers boasting a formidable 22-10 record on their home court, and the Kings not far behind, with an impressive 18-15 on the road. Anticipation is through the roof. Digging into the nitty-gritty, the Lakers are riding the wave of a recent victory over the Oklahoma City Thunder, a game that saw Anthony Davis crushing it with a monster double-double and D'Angelo Russell lighting up the scoreboard. LeBron James, even while battling an ankle issue, remains the Lakers' linchpin, consistently teasing triple-double spectacles. Despite this, they're hitting the court short-handed, missing key players like Jared Vanderbilt and Cam Reddish to injuries. Meanwhile, the Kings are bouncing back from a hard-fought battle against Chicago, where they showed off their rebounding skills but couldn't clinch the win, stumbling in the final quarter. De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis are Sacramento's driving forces, with Sabonis delivering standout double-double performances. Their prowess on the offensive boards might tip the scales, though their overall reliability is up for debate, especially on the heels of back-to-back games. Stat-wise, both squads bring their A-game in different areas. The Lakers excel in offensive execution, shooting at a 49.8% clip and ranking high in assists. The Kings, on the other hand, edge out with a higher scoring average and field goal percentage, showcasing their offensive might. Yet, their defensive play, especially against the long ball and field goal defense, leaves room for improvement. Recent showdowns lean in favor of the Kings, who've outplayed and outpaced the Lakers in their last 3 encounters. However, the Lakers' stronghold at home and the Kings' road game vulnerabilities, particularly in back-to-back matches, hint at a possible turn of tides. For those placing bets, the Lakers' spotty 4-11-1 record against the spread as narrow favorites might raise eyebrows. But given the Kings' grueling schedule, the Lakers' home court stronghold, and their knack for capitalizing on turnovers and Sacramento's defensive shortcomings, LA is in a prime position to defy the odds. Injury updates are key. With Davis likely on the floor and LeBron a possible showstopper, the Lakers have the arsenal to challenge the Kings' defense. Sacramento's heavy reliance on Sabonis and Fox will face a stern test against a Lakers squad hungry to dominate on their turf. After delving deep into both teams' dynamics, stats, and recent face-offs, the needle points towards the Los Angeles Lakers, not just securing a victory, but also covering the spread. Their clutch performance, combined with the Kings' weariness from back-to-back play, positions the Lakers as the team to beat. While predicting the total points margin is dicey with both teams' explosive offensive capabilities, banking on the under might be the wiser choice, anticipating a battle marked by intense defensive efforts.